if you're a contemporary digital communicator, you should know about those apps. You should know that some people are on Foursquare and why they're on Foursquare. Or you should know why they use WhatsApp rather than SMS. Maybe it's not for you, but you need to know because at some point it could solve one of your issues or one of the issues of your organization. So digital mindset is vital. It's really this ability to read the current world through the digital tools and trends that exist. We should all beware of solipsism because it doesn't go well into conversation. Solipsism, it's, I hope you've not been in too many bad relationships, but sometimes when you're in bad relationships, it ends with your partner telling you, it's not about you, it's me. That doesn't help at all. Because what can I do if it's not about me? And it's the same in online conversation. If you show in a bar with your beautiful 200 photo of your last vacations, you might be interesting for a few minutes, but maybe not for the whole evening if people are here to discuss about something else. So solipsism is this kind of blindness to believe that what is very important for your organization or for your own services is equally important to your audience. Most of the time, it's not. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to push your own subject in the conversation. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to create conversations. What it means is that don't come up in the parties with your own agenda if it's not the topic of the party. And that's very important because it's forbidden by major organizations and not just only public institutions. It's all about storytelling. That's something that echoes a lot in the program of this 2 days event. There are quite 2 or 3 storytelling workshops. I think it's tomorrow and this afternoon. I would strongly invite you to go to those workshops because conversation is about telling stories. If you want people to be interested in what you have to push in the message you want to sell there, it's better if there's a stories behind, rather than a blunt communiqué de presse or blunt announcements that nobody can relate to. So you need to learn how to write stories. It's very easy to learn to write stories. Watch TV show, watch American movies, read some books about screenwriting, and see what are your 3 acts, what is your main protagonist, and what is the conflict you want to push. Because people want conflict. They want drama. They want something they can gossip around, that they can share, that they can relate to. Of course, when you go online, there are risks, especially for big organizations and institutions. Some of those risks are being out of your comfort zone. It's a wild world out there, and some people behave very weirdly. For example, people who comment on YouTube. This is something that relates to the digital mindset. We published a video for the election campaign on YouTube. And we got 8 million views of this video, so we are quite happy. And after 24 hours, people turned to me and asked me, why didn't you open the comments on YouTube? So first, the YouTube page of the European Parliament has been opened in 2008, and we never ever opened the comments there. We put a link and we tell to people, if you want to discuss, you go on our Facebook page. There are 2 reasons for that. Human resources. We cannot monitor and answer comments everywhere. It's just impossible. But the main reason, and if you have the digital mindset, you know it, is that comments on YouTube are awful. It's absolutely not a source of any added value at all. I'm watching a BBC dinosaurs documentary on YouTube with my son, and when he's watching the Diplodocus on the screen, on the iPad, I'm scrolling through the comments, and they all refer to private parts of commentators, and who has the biggest, and they fight with each other. It has absolutely no added value linked to the Diplodocus that I'm watching. And this is being out of your comfort zone. You need to know where you're stepping in, because it doesn't make any sense to go and comment there. It does make sense to have comments on Facebook or on LinkedIn and on some other social media platforms where people are a bit less damp. You run the risk to be pathetic or ridiculous. That's if you don't understand the internet trends. If you refer of the pop culture of 2 years ago or even 6 months ago, remember on internet, a month is almost half a year. It goes very fast. So sometimes you see a good idea, and the time you want to jump on this idea and to do the same for your organization, it's old, which is also an insult on Twitter. When you tweet a link and someone replies, old. That's awful. You run the risk to be too institutional, too boring. Again, it's conversation. You don't really have conversation with communiqué de presse, for example, or with big declaration. Don't forget the human touch. And in some organizations, and also in some institutions, we are a bit uneasy with the human touch. You run the risk to be misunderstood. It's 140 signs on Twitter. It's very short. Sometimes people won't get your joke or they won't get the message because it's short. So you have to accept that, and you have to be ready to explain and again and again. You run the risk to be too conformist, aka boring. If you want to please everybody, you'll be wrong. You have to select who you want to please, who you want to interest. You won't be able to please everybody at the same time. And you run the risk not to be internet up to date. Again, that's a capital sin in your jobs. Yet, most of the things you worry about never happen. I won't publicly comment on the worst thing that happened on our social media platforms in the last 10 years, but some bad things happened. We just don't make them public. But not of the worst that we were afraid when we started there. So it's still a nice environment to go. And I know the title of this workshop is about strategy. I'm a big fan of strategy. I'm not a big fan of strategic paper. I'm not a big fan of writing 60 pages with complicated words to explain what I'm going to do on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Foursquare, and so on. Because the time it will take me to write and draft this strategic paper, and the time it will be amended by a lot of people and go through my management and my hierarchy, it will be too late. My strategy will be old. And the fact is, as Seth Godin stated it, the compass has replaced the map. If you're looking for a map to move on your territory, you're lost already. You need a compass, and you need to go where you want. You need to know where you want to go. So what is your compass? Your values, the values of your organization. If you don't know them, it's very important to identify them. For example, in the media directorate of the European Parliament, EuroPCom, our values are we are accurate. We publish right content that we triple check. We are politically balanced. We never favor political groups above another one. We try to be interesting. We write about the European Parliament and democracy and transparency. These are all part of our values, and we stick to them because when we are lost in the fog, we remember why we're here and what are our values. Your instinct. If you have digital mindset, if you're a professional communicator, you should know when someone comes into your office with a crazy idea, if it's that crazy, if it's good, or if it's lame. And you have to trust your guts. Your digital mindset, your creativity, and of course, your objectives. One last thing, try to fail early, to fail often, and to fail cheaply. If you don't fail, you're not trying. So it's okay to fail. Make sure your boss understands that. I'm very lucky because all my bosses understood that over the years, and they still understand it. That's why we can try things. And most of the things we are trying, they don't work. We just, again, we're not public about it. But some of them, they do work, and we're very happy. And they work because we accepted the fact that we have to fail. The only thing is that try to fail as soon as possible, and not too expensively.